Imagine this for a second. Two people earn the exact same amount of money. Same salary, same city, same cost of living. 10 years later, one of them is constantly stressed, living paycheck to paycheck, afraid of unexpected bills, convinced money is hard to come by. The other, calm, strategic, confident, investing, growing, sleeping well at night. Here's the question that should mess with your head a little. If money was the only factor, how did they end up in such completely different places? What if I told you the real difference wasn't income, luck, education, or even discipline, but something far more invisible? Something sitting quietly inside your brain, working 24/7, deciding how you see money, how you react to opportunities, and how far you believe you're allowed to go financially. Today, we're unlocking your brain's financial GPS. And more importantly, we're exposing how a scarcity mindset silently reroutes your life and how to finally navigate your way toward abundance. Most people think money problems are external. Low income, bad economy, inflation, the government, your boss, your parents, your background. And yes, those things matter, but they're not the whole story. Because long before money shows up in your bank account, it shows up in your mind. Your brain is constantly asking one core question. Is there enough? Enough money, enough time, enough opportunity, enough safety, enough room for you? When the answer your brain defaults to is no, you are living with a scarcity mindset. And scarcity doesn't just affect how you feel, it fundamentally rewires how you think, decide, and act around money. Let's make this real. Think back to the first time you became aware of money stress. Not when you were an adult, but when you were a kid. Maybe you overheard your parents arguing about bills late at night. Maybe you remember the electricity being shut off. Maybe you learned early that asking for things made adults uncomfortable. Maybe you heard phrases like, money doesn't grow on trees, or we can't afford that, or rich people are greedy, or people like us don't do those things. None of those moments felt like financial education, but your brain was taking notes. And here's the wild part. Your brain doesn't care whether those lessons are true. It only cares whether they kept you safe at the time. Scarcity thinking often begins as a survival strategy. If money was tight growing up, your brain learned to be hyper-alert, cautious, defensive. It learned to conserve, not expand. To avoid risk, not explore opportunity. Fast forward to adulthood, and suddenly that same survival wiring is running your financial life, even when the danger is no longer real. This is where the idea of a financial GPS really matters. A GPS doesn't just tell you where you are, it determines which routes you think are possible. If your internal GPS believes money is scarce, unpredictable, and easily lost, it will constantly steer you towards safe decisions. Not smart decisions, not growth decisions. Safe ones. Safe looks like staying in a job you hate because it pays the bills. Safe looks like hoarding cash while inflation eats it alive. Safe looks like saying no to opportunities before you even understand them. Safe looks like playing defense with money your entire life. And here's the trap. Scarcity feels responsible. It feels mature. It feels cautious. But over time, it quietly caps your financial potential. Let's talk about how scarcity actually hijacks your brain. Neuroscientists have studied this. When people feel scarcity of money, food, or time, the brain narrows its focus. You become obsessed with immediate problems. Tunnel vision sets in. Long-term planning becomes harder. Creativity drops. Risk tolerance disappears. This is why someone in a scarcity mindset might know logically that investing is important, but still procrastinate for years. Or why they might understand that learning a new skill could increase their income, but feel too overwhelmed to start. Their brain is too busy asking, how do I survive right now, to ask, how do I grow? Imagine trying to drive across the country using a GPS that constantly screams, low fuel, danger ahead. Even if the road is clear, you're not going to enjoy the journey, and you're probably not going to take any detours that could lead to something better. Now let's contrast that with abundance thinking. Abundance does not mean ignoring reality or pretending money magically appears. Real abundance is not delusion, it's orientation. An abundance mindset starts with a different internal answer to the question, is there enough? The answer becomes, there can be. Enough opportunities, enough ways to earn, enough room to recover from mistakes, enough time to learn, enough value inside you to be paid more. When your brain believes this, your financial GPS opens up entirely new routes. You still see risks, but you also see possibilities. You don't just ask, what could I lose? You ask, what could I build? Let's walk through a relatable scenario. Meet Alex. Alex earns a decent income, but money always feels tight. Every unexpected expense feels like a crisis. When Alex gets a bonus, it disappears almost immediately. Sometimes on bills, sometimes on small splurges justified as, I deserve this because I'm stressed. Alex tells themselves they're just bad with money. But here's what's actually happening. Alex's brain believes money is temporary and fragile, so when money shows up, the subconscious response is either to eliminate anxiety by paying everything off immediately or to extract pleasure before the money inevitably disappears. Saving feels pointless because it doesn't feel safe. Now meet Jordan. Same income, same bills. Jordan doesn't feel rich, but they feel stable. When extra money comes in, Jordan pauses. They think about future options. They don't rush, they don't panic. Jordan's brain believes money can be managed and multiplied. Same math, different mindset, completely different outcomes. Scarcity also shows up in how people talk about money. Listen closely and you'll hear it everywhere. I'll never be able to afford that. That's for rich people. Must be nice. I'm just not good with money. These aren't neutral statements. They're directions you're feeding into your financial GPS. Your brain is always listening to your language. When you repeatedly tell yourself something is impossible, your brain stops looking for paths to make it possible. It conserves energy. It shuts doors before you even see them. One of the most damaging scarcity beliefs is the idea that money is a zero-sum game, that if someone else wins, you lose. This belief creates resentment towards wealthy people, fear of charging what you're worth, and guilt around wanting more. If money feels morally suspicious, you'll subconsciously push it away. Abundance reframes this entirely. It recognizes that value can be created, that skills can be learned, that money flows towards solutions, that someone else's success doesn't block yours, it often proves what's possible. Now, here's where things get uncomfortable, but stay with me. Many people say they want more money, but their identity is built around scarcity. They're the struggling one, the broke but humble one, the I don't care about money one. Your identity is powerful. If abundance threatens who you believe you are, your brain will sabotage it to protect familiarity. Think about it. If you've spent years bonding with people over shared struggle, what happens when you start winning? If your family taught you that wanting more is greedy, what happens when you start earning more? If being low maintenance was how you stayed loved, what happens when you demand better pay? Your brain hates social risk more than financial risk, so it keeps you small. Not because you're incapable, but because you're trying to belong. Unlocking your financial GPS requires noticing these invisible loyalties. Asking yourself, who would I disappoint if I became financially abundant, is one of the most powerful and uncomfortable questions you can ask.
Let's talk about decision-making. Scarcity pushes you toward short-term relief. Abundance pulls you toward long-term leverage. Scarcity says, take the guaranteed money now. Abundance says, what builds over time? Scarcity says, don't mess this up. Abundance says, mistakes are part of the process. This is why people in scarcity often jump from one financial move to another without a strategy. New side hustle, New investment, new budget system, always reacting, always resetting. It's not lack of intelligence, it's lack of internal safety. Abundance doesn't mean reckless risk, it means calculated risk. It means building buffers, systems, and skills so that one mistake doesn't wipe you out. Ironically, abundance thinking often leads to more stability, not less. Let's look at another scenario. Sarah wants to invest, but is terrified of losing money. She keeps waiting for the perfect time. Years pass. Inflation quietly erodes her savings. From the outside, it looks like caution. From the inside, it's fear disguised as patience. Meanwhile, Daniel starts small. He learns, he messes up, he adjusts. His net worth grows, not because he's fearless, but because his brain believes recovery is possible. Abundance isn't the absence of fear, it's the belief that fear isn't fatal. One of the biggest lies scarcity tells you is that you must choose between security and growth. In reality, true financial security comes from adaptability, skills, knowledge, confidence, the ability to earn in multiple ways, the belief that if something collapses, you can rebuild. When your brain trusts your ability to recover, it stops clinging to every dollar like it's the last one you'll ever see. Now let's get practical, because mindset without application is just motivation. Rewiring your financial GPS starts with awareness. Start catching scarcity thoughts in real time. When you think, "I can't afford this," pause and ask, "Is this actually true or is this fear talking?" Sometimes the answer is no, but now you're choosing consciously, not reactively. Next, shift your language. Instead of "I can't afford this," try "I'm choosing not to spend on this right now." That single change tells your brain you have agency. You're not powerless, you're strategic. Create small wins that prove abundance to your nervous system. Save a tiny emergency fund. Invest a small amount consistently. Track progress visually. Your brain needs evidence, not affirmations. Expose yourself to examples of ethical, grounded wealth. Not flashy influencers, but people who built steadily, responsibly. Your brain needs new reference points for what's normal and possible. And finally, redefine what abundance means for you. Abundance isn't just millions in the bank, it's options, peace, time, choice, the ability to say no, the ability to plan 5 years ahead without panic. Here's the truth most finance advice never tells you. Money follows mindset, but not in a magical way. It follows through behavior, decisions, risk tolerance, and consistency. Change the internal GPS and the external route changes automatically. You don't need to become someone else. You don't need to erase your past. You just need to update the map your brain is using. Scarcity taught you how to survive. Abundance will teach you how to live. And the moment you realize that money is not a measure of your worth, but a tool that responds to how you think, plan, and act, is the moment your financial GPS finally recalculates. The destination was never unreachable. You were just following directions that no longer serve you. And once you see that, you'll never look at money the same way again.